Hey y'all, welcome back to the old homestead out here on Turkey Creek. Glad to have you. Well, the time has come. After 39 years, it's time to retire Old Faithful here. Or semi-retire, we'll see what happens. There were some extenuating circumstances that brought this about. During the muzzleloader deer season here in northwest Oklahoma, around the 1st of November, I had a standing broadside shot at an 8-point buck at about 60 or 65 yards. And I had to take the shot offhand. And when I pulled up and set the trigger and pulled the trigger, I had a clatch. And not only did it clatch on me once, but it clatched on me 3 times before actually firing on the fourth try. And all that time, I was holding this rifle offhand on that deer while cocking and closing the frizzen, setting the trigger, and pulling the trigger. I'm not blaming the rifle, but what I feel that I can no longer countenance is the weight and muzzle heaviness of this gun. Now, I have to say, I built this gun. This was the first gun I built, and I built it in the summer of 1984. And this is a highly accurate rifle. With my younger eyes at 100 yards from the bench, with 110 grains of 2F behind a 54 caliber, 530 caliber round ball, 18 thousandths pillow ticking patch greased with tallow. This rifle will keep them in a half a dollar. Now my old eyes right now, the group's getting out to at least a silver dollar, but that's not the rifle, that's me. But this rifle weighs just a shade under 10 pounds, and all of that weight is in this 36-inch, 1 inch across the flats, 54 caliber barrel. It's a very heavy, very muzzle heavy rifle. And at 69 years old, with the situation I was in, and again, partially my fault, I haven't been doing my core body weight exercises that I normally do. By the time I got to that 4th shot, the muzzle was wavering, and I was feeling pressured, and I hurried the shot, and I just flat missed that deer. I love this rifle. I probably will still, or maybe still, hunt with it upon occasion. It's a great rifle. Over the years, I've taken probably at least 12 deer with this gun. Now, I haven't always hunted with this gun exclusively since 1984. There were a lot of times that I hunted with lever guns, single shots. I took a nice 6x6 bull elk with my Shiloh Sharps 4570 that I cast the bullets and loaded the black powder cartridges myself. 1 shot at 75 yards. I took a nice bull elk. I took a cow elk with a shot to the head from my 30-30 Model 94 Winchester. I've killed deer with an original Model 1895 Winchester in .303 British caliber. I've killed antelope with an original takedown Model 94 Winchester in 38-55 caliber. I actually killed one doe antelope with this gun. About the only gun that I have used that had a scope on it over the past 35 whatever years, since probably 1985, was a borrowed Ruger number 1 in 25-06, and I just borrowed it because I needed to go out and harvest some doe antelope for meat for the freezer, and so I did that with that gun. But since 1998, to my recollection, there's only been one time I've gone hunting with anything but this rifle, and that was a special circumstance back in October of 2004. I was going to West Texas, out to west of Ozona, Texas. Big country, a lot of mesas and cedar and mesquite, things like that. Country, it just absolutely gorgeous country. And I was going on a hunt that was being filmed for a television program called Adventure Bound Outdoors, which was a Christian hunting program. And at that time, well, up until he got dementia, my late father-in-law was a custom rifle maker specializing in single shot, black powder cartridge rifles, and further specializing in making Remington Hepburn rifles, not from castings. He machined everything. He would order a barrel blank in the caliber 44 or 45 usually that he was building, and then he would contour the barrel and ream the chamber himself, and he actually machined all the parts for the action for that rifle. And they, even back in 2008, 2010, even back in 2004, those rifles sold for $8,000-$10,000 a piece. So I asked my father-in-law if he had a Hepburn that he wanted me to take on that hunt. And he said, "No, I don't, but what caliber do you want? We'll just build one." And so we settled on 30-40 Krag, simply because it was an original Hepburn caliber at the turn of the century. And I wanted something that, not knowing what I was getting into, shooting open sights, I wanted something that would reach out a little ways. So I did end up taking a 6-point buck for that television program with that rifle. But other than that, I can't recall a single hunt in the past 25 years that I haven't used Old Faithful here. Great rifle. I built this from parts and a pre-carved stock that I got from Pecatonica River back in 1984. And I love this rifle, and this is the one rifle I have, one muzzle loader that I would never sell. So, with the clutches and my inability to hold steady for that long a time, I've actually decided before rifle season, which just ended, that was a 2-week season, that I would switch rifles. So what am I switching to? Well, back in the earlier part of this year, when I finished this rifle, I promised myself that if I still owned this, if somebody hadn't bought it by hunting season, I would try and take a deer with this rifle. This is the .45 caliber Southern Mountain rifle that I made various parts for and assembled out of a Kibler kit. It's a fantastic rifle. As I said, Old Faithful there weighs just a shade under 10 pounds. This rifle barely weighs 6 pounds. And although it does have a 44-inch barrel compared to a 36-inch barrel on the old Flint Hawken there, this rifle is so light and so well balanced that I can hold steady for a given, whatever necessary. I believe I can hold this rifle steady. Now, I did already hunt with this rifle for that 2-week gun deer season that just ended. I did not get a shot during that time. I have a 12 or 14 day doe season coming up starting the 18th of December this month, and hopefully I'll get a shot yet with this rifle. I shot it about 40 times already. At the end of my load testing and sighting in, this is the second target. I actually didn't even keep the first one. I was just testing loads. I'm shooting a 440 round ball with a 18 thousandths pillow ticking patch lubed with pure tallow. I tried 60 grains of 3F Go-X, 70 grains of 3F Go-X, and 80 grains of 3F Go-X. And I finally settled on the 70 grain load because it was holding them at 50 yards from the bench in a really tight group. And so after sighting in, hopefully you can see this. After sighting in, I did some sight adjustments and finally came up with the last 3 shots in the X ring and 10 ring just a shade to the right. And at that point I said, that's it, I'm stopping. Most of my shots are 40 to 60 or 70 yards anyway, and that is good enough for now. Obviously, I'm going to work on that some more. I actually prefer sighting my muzzle loaders in dead on at 100 yards, so I'm going to be working on that yet, probably over the spring and summer before next hunting season. But as of now, this is officially my hunting rifle. I have complete confidence in it that the 45 caliber with the 70 grains of 3F, believe me, that load, when you're shooting that it really has a bark to it, and it has a kick. It has some recoil. Like I said, this is barely a 6-pound rifle, and 70 grains of 3F in that 45 caliber bore, that's pretty good. But it's got the accuracy and the knockdown power, so this is it. This is my hunting rifle officially from now until, for whatever reason, I decide to change. I do have an early Virginia rifle in 50 caliber that I'll be building over the winter. I haven't yet had a chance to get to the forge to forge out the butt plate and trigger guard, thimbles, etc., that I need for that rifle. So as soon as I do that, then I'll get started on building that rifle, and that's being built from a nice maple blank that I got from Alan Martin. So I'm looking forward to building that, and at some point, if I own that rifle during a deer season, I may hunt with that as well. So that's it. This is now my hunting rifle, folks. I have full confidence in this rifle. It has failed has not failed to go off during load testing and sighting in, so I'm pretty happy. So I guess that brings us to the end of this video. I'd like to leave you with a final thought. I know a lot of you, or at least some of you, are looking around this country at everything that's going on, and if you believe in God, you're saying that, you know, if something doesn't change, God is going to judge this nation and we're going to be in trouble. Well, I hate to break the news to you, but God already has judged this nation. That's why we now have a Romans 1 society governed by a Romans 1 government. And if you're not sure what I mean by a Romans 1 society and government, I invite you to pick up a Bible and turn to the book of Romans, and starting specifically in verse 18, read through the end of that chapter. And that will give you, you're going to read that chapter and you're going to look around at our society and what our government supports. And I use that term, our government, rather loosely at this point. And you're going to say, yes, this actually has taken place. So there is good news in that, though. Although God has turned this society over to a debased mind, and it has elected a government that supports that debased society, there is good news, because God has given us a way out. Psalm 33:12 says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." If we as a nation turn back to God, He will bless that. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 34 says, "Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any land." Those scriptures that God gave us are pointing to the recipe for our salvation. And that is, that you can find that in the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14, that says, "If my people who are called by my name," and I want to stop right there and remind you that my people who are called by my name, ever since that Friday some 2,000 years ago when they nailed Jesus Christ to the cross after scourging him, whipping him, every torture you can think of, and then they nailed him to that cross. Ever since that day, my people who are called by my name are those who are called according to the name of Jesus Christ. So if you call yourself a Christian, that includes you. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and I will forgive them their sins, and I will heal their land. So it's not up to the present administration, the people who populate that government, who do not adhere to the principles of Jesus Christ. It's not up to them. It's not up to the tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of people in this country who seek to serve only sin and self. It's not up to them. It's up to us who are called Christian, who are called by the name of Christ. It's up to us to humble ourselves and pray and seek the face of God and turn from our wicked ways. Any sin in your life, you need to turn from that, and you need to fall on your face before God and seek Him and humble yourself and pray. And that is how we turn this nation around. It's not impossible that God will hear our prayers and see our sincereness and bring about a great revival. He's done that in this nation before. So that is what is needed to turn this nation around, and that is our responsibility as Christians. So, having said that, and I enjoyed telling you about my old rifle and my new one. Again, I don't know what caused the clatches. It was not a brand new flint, but I tested it before loading and it was throwing some pretty good sparks. I've run a file across the frizzen and there are a few scratches. It may be a little soft. I may, just for grins and giggles over the winter, I may harden that frizzen. I'll tune the lock, and I'll see if I can get that old girl to once again be Old Faithful. And she'd make a great chunk gun. And if you don't know what that is, the old timers had shooting contests where they would rest their gun over a chunk of log lying prone on the ground, and that was called a chunk gun. So as heavy as she is and as accurate as she is, she would make a great chunk gun. But I'm really looking forward to taking deer with the Southern Mountain Rifle. So once again, as I leave you, as always, keep your flint sharp, your priming dry. Do as I say, not as I do. Keep your flint sharp, your priming dry, and stay free. This is Turkey Creek. See you next time.